This week, a string of robberies targeting clubgoers.
That's insane. That's a down payment on a house, man.
Plus, a brazen bodega heist in the Bronx.
That's how they get into the store.
And an exclusive look at the city's gun problem.
This should not be in the hands of a criminal.
Right now, Fox 5's Crime in the City. Here are the crimes from across the 5 boroughs. We begin this week in Times Square and the scene of that brutal beating of 2 NYPD cops.
Well, new video released tonight in that brutal attack on officers allegedly at the hands of migrants in Times Square.
The NYPD putting out this body cam footage as Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg announces 7 migrants in total have been indicted. Fox 5's Kendall Green joins us live in studio tonight with the latest. Kendall.
Hey, good evening, Steve and Natasha. What jumps out of this video quickly is what triggered the incident and how fast it escalated. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced 6 additional indictments detailing each person's role in the assault that's already sparked outrage across the country. We're getting a better look from multiple angles surrounding January 27th's violent beatdown of 2 NYPD officers.
A large group of these males, Mr. Brito included, are standing in front of the shelter and they're blocking 42nd Street, forcing people to walk around them.
The officers instruct them to go to West 41st Street. Henry Brito, the only suspect currently held at Rikers, is seen on body cam footage telling the officers, "Don't touch me." And seconds later, after he grabs a stroller and begins walking, one of those officers grabs him and pins him against the wall. Brito asks in Spanish, "Why are you stopping me?"
He refused a lawful order. They attempted to place him under arrest and the melee begins.
The incident in that instant turns physical as the men around Brito responds to his arrest, kicking and striking officers. Brito comes out of his shirt, and more of the men, prosecutors say a total of 14, jump in, kicking those officers. Thursday, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced a grand jury returned 6 additional indictments against the suspects involved with the assault.
I stand here today confident that we have identified the roles of every person who broke the law and participated in this heinous attack.
DA Bragg went down the line detailing each individual charged in the incident and their role in the assault. They're all accused of striking one of the officers, if not both.
The 5 who have had their charges unsealed all face felony charges. 4 face a top charge of assault in the 2nd degree. 1 faces a top charge of tampering with physical evidence. And as I said, the remaining 2 charges are unsealed.
Mayor Adams supporting DA Bragg's resistance to rush the prosecution, a source of nationwide scrutiny following the assault.
He wanted to get it right.
Mayor Adams called the act an attack on our symbols of justice as the search continues for the suspects still on the loose. Now, Adams added if those accused are found guilty, the federal government should do their job in deporting them from the city.
Staying in Manhattan, a gang of thieves nabbed for swiping huge sums of money from unsuspecting clubgoers.
Suspected crime ring busted, and authorities say the thieves had very specific targets, people who had a little too much to drink at Manhattan nightclubs. The Manhattan DA's office says the 4 people indicted swindled nearly $500,000 from unsuspecting victims.
They used the credit cards and phones that they allegedly stole to buy pricey products, including iPhones and MacBooks. Fox 5's Kendall Green has more.
4 people, part of a theft ring, allegedly raking in thousands and thousands of dollars, indicted Tuesday. The Manhattan DA's office says the group, 2 of them seen in court, used stolen credit cards and phones to access cash apps where they bought Apple products and luxury goods, totaling $420,000.
That's a down payment on a house, man.
They allegedly went into nightclubs across the borough, targeting those who appeared to be wealthy and under the influence. The operations leader handpicked their victims, prosecutors say. Then he and his crew would encourage them to drink more, all to steal their credit cards and cell phones dating back as early as October of 2022 to the latest incident in August last year.
That's one hell of a hangover. That is one thing when you're thinking the next morning, wow, I wish I just stuck to the booze and kept my wallet in my pocket.
That's insane. As like a bartender, I couldn't even imagine like my patrons being targeted like that.
Once they got the cards, they made stops to Apple stores and luxury retailers to spend the money. One of the hot spots for the big spenders, this Apple store off 5th Avenue, where prosecutors say they made $150,000 worth of purchases within a 3-hour period.
The defendants described their criminal activity as Grinching and refer to themselves as the Grinchsters or the Grinch Boys.
The kind of thieves that get over on victims who let their guard down.
I always seem to be more skeptical than my friends and family, and my friends and family seem to criticize me for it, but examples like this are, I think, justification.
The DA's office advising New Yorkers to be just as vigilant following this case and others concerning surges and thefts we've been reporting on. The individuals indicted are charged with larceny, ID theft, and conspiracy.
Up in the Bronx, a pair of suspects break into a Morris Heights bodega and make off with $100 grand in cash.
Now to a brazen bodega heist in the Bronx, all caught on camera.
A pair of thieves accused of making off with $100,000, leaving the owner in dire financial straits. Fox 5's Richard Giacobis has the latest from the Morris Heights section of the Bronx.
Los Castillos Market is a community staple in Morris Heights, a busy corner bodega on University Avenue that sees customers buying groceries late into the night. But this past weekend, the market's owner, Carlos Castillo, decided to take some time off. And while he was on vacation, surveillance video catches a pair of thieves targeting his business overnight Sunday and walking out with a boatload of cash.
Whoever broke into this bodega scored a $100,000 loot.
The video shows one of the men opening up the register, rummaging behind the counter, appearing to stuff a backpack with money.
The bodega owner, of course, is broken down economically, socially, mentally.
Carlos is fearful and too distraught to speak out, only finding out about the robbery when he came coincidentally back to work on Monday morning, only to find his steel door cracked open with a crowbar and security cameras smashed. President of the United Bodegas of America, Radhames Rodriguez, showing us how those thieves got in, alluding to the fact that this may have indeed been an inside job.
They blocked those cameras, that one, and that one. And that's how they get into the store.
The robbery comes as burglaries across the city are down, but here in the 46th precinct, well, it's in fact worse. Burglaries in this part of the Bronx are up 25% so far this year. As for Carlos, he's not sure what to do next.
Really sad, that kind of money that he lost, is very hard for her to make it.
Carlos Castillo, the owner of this bodega, we are told is in financial ruin after losing that $100,000. UBA is offering a $10,000 reward to anyone with information on what happened here on Sunday night. If you saw something, if you know something, call police.
Down in Lower Manhattan, dozens of Nicha employees arrested in a massive and historic corruption bust.
Prosecutors calling this a classic pay-to-play corruption scheme, claiming contractors were awarded jobs in exchange for bribe money.
Fox 5's Lisa Evers is live outside the Douglas houses on the Upper West Side with these bombshell allegations. Lisa.
Well, Stephen, Natasha, definitely a huge case here. We're here at the Douglas houses. It's one of the developments the U.S. attorney says where staffers allegedly use money meant for tenants' repairs in order to line their own pockets. Dozens of current and former Nicha staff members were rounded up by federal agents after they were indicted in a pay-for-play bribery scheme with contractors who had to cough up extra cash in order to get the work. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams says the schemes were active for at least a decade in more than 100 developments, including the Douglas houses.
As we allege, the 70 defendants charged today allegedly demanded over $2 million in bribe money from contractors in exchange for giving out over $13 million of work on Nicha buildings.
At the Douglas houses, many apartments like this one are in need of repairs that residents say never get done. Nicha says it receives $4.38 billion in annual revenue, about half of that from tenants' rents. Resident Association President Carmen Quinones praised the U.S. Attorney's actions.
Long overdue, Lisa. I mean, how many times did I go to City Hall asking where the money is at, why the repairs are not getting done? I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
The U.S. Attorney says there was no alternative for contractors.
If the contractors didn't pay up, the defendants wouldn't give them the work. That's classic pay to play. And this culture of corruption at Nicha ends today.
The Nicha staff allegedly took advantage of a no-bid rule for jobs under $10,000, which was created to speed repair jobs. The practice was widespread.
The 70 current and former Nicha staff members charged today in separate bribery schemes touch every borough of New York City and nearly 1/3 of Nicha's 335 housing developments.
Now residents have some hope their living conditions will improve, says President Quinones.
We have white-collar people, we have blue-collar people, we got everybody living in Douglas houses, and they pay rent and they work hard, and they should get the repairs that they so desperately need.
Now, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams says this investigation is far from over, and he made a point of urging anyone with information or who may have been involved to come forward now, because he said they will not stop until Nicha residents get the respect that they deserve and the living conditions that they've been paying for.
And finally, back to the Bronx. An exclusive demonstration by the NYPD starkly reveals the city's gun problem.
Now, the influx of illegal guns in the city, the NYPD says it removed more than 6,000 of them alone last year. And tonight we're getting an exclusive look at the department's firearm inventory.
So they say it resembles similar guns that criminals are using. Here's Fox 5's Michelle Ross.
These are members of the NYPD's Firearms and Tactics section. This is the police department's outdoor shooting range at Rodman's Neck in the Bronx. In this collection are different pistols, revolvers, and rifles. We have quite a number of guns here on the table. What are we looking at?
So this is a sampling of firearms from our inventory that represent firearms that would have been taken off the street.
When in their possession, these deadly weapons are handled by trained and highly skilled professionals. But when in the hands of violent criminals, danger is imminent. The NYPD seized 6,429 guns off the streets of New York City in 2023. That's nearly 18 guns per day.
When you hear that number, what comes to mind?
I think that's 6,000 less opportunities for other crimes to happen.
Handguns are the most frequent firearm they seize. Most of these here are 9mm pistols, very common for police use, and also very commonly used by criminals.
But it's definitely not unheard of to see some of the more powerful shotguns and rifles come in off the street.
Just last week, the NYPD removed illegal rifles and 600 rounds of ammunition from an Astoria, Queens home. Here's the NYPD's Chief of Patrol, John Chell.
Not only can they kill you, some of those rifles can penetrate our cops' vests. So extremely dangerous.
Rifles have a very high velocity round. There's a lot of energy in a shotgun cartridge.
Just how much energy?
This is a Mossberg Model 590.
Officer Daniel Wang demonstrates by shooting right next to this target to showcase the intense pressure wave that comes out of the front of the muzzle. Let's play that in slow motion. Again, he does not actually shoot the target. He shoots parallel to it without touching it, and shredded paper is left behind. Now imagine what the 1-ounce lead projectile released from the firearm is capable of.
Something that we definitely don't want to see in the hands of criminals.
What they also don't want to see criminals in possession of, America's most popular rifle, the AR-15.
There's a lot of them out there.
When fired by officers, they're calm, cool, collected, and in control. Same may go for a gun hobbyist or enthusiast. But for a civilian like myself, the adrenaline is high. Officer Wang's hand goes up to help me with the recoil.
This is a powerful weapon. That goes without being said.
And it's easy to pull the trigger.
This should not be in the hands of a criminal.
Here, we're in a safe and controlled environment, but an illegally owned gun held by a person with cold-blooded intentions in a different setting means deadly consequences. Officer John Ellick demonstrates with another popular firearm, an AK-47, and aims at the driver's side of this car.
And the intended target isn't the only one who's always hit. Those bullets went through that side of the car door, zipped through to the passenger side, exited from this side of the car, and hit this target, which could be anyone standing outside.
When we're talking about a city of millions of people, there's going to be people on that street, and there's definitely a risk for innocent bystanders being struck by that gunfire.
2 years ago, an 11-month-old baby was shot in the face while in a parked car in the Bronx. At the range, the handle of our GoPro was struck. Smaller guns like this pocket pistol pose a serious threat to the public, too.
Obviously, the concern here is that can be very easily concealed in a pocket or pretty much anywhere. Even just to hold it in the hand, you can see it can be pretty, it's smaller than my hand.
It shoots a little .25 caliber cartridge. And despite its smaller size, it still can do very serious damage.
Certainly, yeah.
And ghost guns are a newer problem for the NYPD, which can be mailed in parts and assembled at home, all made from a 3D printer. With no serial number, they're untraceable. So far this year, 572 illegal guns have been removed off the streets. Chief Chell says we're still the safest big city in the country.
Why is that? Because we take the most guns off the street and we will not stop.
And while the NYPD recognizes it may be unrealistic to get to zero anytime soon, they'll still strive every day.
And that's this week's Crime in the City. Subscribe for more at youtube.com/Fox5NY.